Hello everyone, my name is NewFlowerGirl, but you can call me Demi, and today we are having a podcast about Red Bull racing. Just before all of this, I would like to point a few things out. I can barely hear through one of my ears, which isn't that bad. It's actually getting better. I can hear more than I did yesterday. And also this morning I had the scare of my life when my hamster Bubbles escaped. Basically, in the night, Bubbles escaped. He pushed out a part of the tube where we could basically lift up easily. And he pushed it out. He tumbled from about 1 meter high down to the ground, possibly onto something soft, and ran through the room. So then at 9 o'clock this morning, or Thursday morning, my mum woke me up and said Bubbles escaped. And you don't want to know how fast I went downstairs, because I wanted to find Bubbles. We couldn't find him at first, and then about half an hour later, my mum saw Nusha sniffing at some box and said, "Demi, go look there. She's sniffing there quite a lot." I moved that thing. And I saw Bubbles. I legit cried of happiness. Bubbles is back, safe and sound. But that's just all I wanted to point out. And yeah, let's go. If you want to see more about Bubbles, Nusha, or more of these podcasts, then please subscribe. We are close to not to 500. That would be, then I would have had my hair dyed already. But we are close to 50 subscribers, only 9 away. I'm super happy right now. But yeah, let's go. Red Bull Racing, competing as Red Bull Racing Honda, also simply known as Red Bull or RBR, is a Formula 1 racing team racing a Honda-powered car under an Austrian license and based in the United Kingdom. The team raced under a British license from 2005 to 2006 and has raced under an Australian license since 2007. It is one of two Formula 1 teams owned by beverage company Red Bull GmbH, the other being Scuderia AlphaTauri, previously Scuderia Toro Rosso. The team has been managed by Christian Horner since its formation in 2005. I'd like to point out that the picture you're seeing on screen was from 2016 and not from 2020 or 2021. Because if it was from 2021, people would be wearing face masks and Checo Perez would be in there. But this is from 2019 because no one is wearing face masks and Alexander Albon is in there. So that's why. It could also have been from early 2020, who knows? But yeah, the previous name of this team was Jaguar Racing F1 team, and that team was managed by the one and only Niki Lauda. I made a podcast about Niki Lauda. I will link it in the description, and I will put an eye in it, maybe. I'll put an eye. If you see it, then I did. If you don't see it, then go into the description down below to watch or listen to that podcast. But the current drivers are, with number 11, Checo Perez, and number 33, Max Verstappen. They have one test driver, which is Alexander Albon, which is the guy on the left car, sitting on the left car. The tires they use is Pirelli, obviously. Everyone uses Pirelli. And they've entered 308 races and 307 starts. Maybe they got penalized at one point and, weren't allowed to start. Or they couldn't start because engine issues. The engines they used to have were Cosworth, Ferrari, Renault, Jack Heuer, and now they are currently racing with Honda, which is giving them a lot of power, I would say, because they're closing up to Mercedes, who aren't allowed to use the DAS system anymore. I might make a video on DAS system, or I might find a video explaining what the DAS system is, and I'll put it in the description as well. Just so. But they've won 4 constructors and drivers championships, and that was in 2010, 11, 12 and 13, both times. They have had 605, oh my god, I'm not there right now in my head, 65 victories, 187 podiums, and they've had 5,155.5 points, 64 pole positions, 69 fastest laps, and in 2020 their position in the championship was second with 319 points. Red Bull had Cosworth engines in 2005 and Ferrari engines in 2006. The team used engines supplied by Renault between 2007 and 2018. From 2016 to 2018, the Renault engine was rebadged Tag Heuer, following the breakdown in the relationship between Red Bull and Renault in 2015. During this partnership, they won 4 successive drivers and constructors championship titles from 2010 to 2013, becoming the first Austrian team to win the title. The team began using Honda engines in 2019, following Honda's exit from Formula One as a works entity after 2021. The team will take over the maintenance of the Honda power units through Red Bull Powertrains Limited and continue racing them after a freeze on development. I don't know what that means. But now we're going to dive into their history, their origins. The current Red Bull team can trace its origins back to the Stewart Grand Prix outfit that made its debut in 1997. Jackie Stewart sold his team to the Ford Motor Company in 2099, and Ford made the decision to rebrand the team Jaguar Racing, with little subsequent success over the next 5 years. The Jaguar Racing Formula One constructor and racing team was put up for sale in September 2004, when Ford decided it could no longer make a compelling business case for any of its brands to compete in Formula One. Red Bull, an energy drinks company, agreed its purchase of Jaguar Racing on the final day of the sale, which was November 15th, 2004. BBC Sport reported that Ford asked bidders for a symbolic $1 in return for a commitment to invest $400 million in the team over 3 Grand Prix seasons. So that's basically 3 seasons, really. The team continued to have access to the Cosworth engine developed for their 2005 chassis, and the operation continued under the new title. Christian Horner was installed as the new team boss and lined up David Coulthard and Christian Klein to drive for the team. Now, we all know David Coulthard. We don't know a lot more about Christian Klein. I might do a podcast about all of the drivers mentioned in this podcast that haven't had a podcast yet. So we'll skip Max Verstappen because I've already done one about Max. So there will be one about Checo Perez, Alexander Albon, David Coulthard, and Christian Klein so far. So there will be more coming, as I can see from here. Red Bull Racing was not the start of Red Bull's involvement in Formula One, as they sponsored Sauber from 1995 to 2004. After buying a Formula One team of its own, Red Bull ended its long-term partnership with the Swiss team. Red Bull also runs a young drivers program, Red Bull Junior Team, whereby Red Bull sponsors promising young drivers. High-profile drivers who have received this backing include Enrique Bernaldi, Christian Klein, Patrick Friesager, Vitantiono Luisi, and Scottish Speed. Red Bull also sponsors many drivers and teams competing in the Formula 2 Championship, Formula 1's feeder series, so basically the intermediate class, really. 2005 Cosworth engine, 2005 season. Red Bull's owner, Dietrich Mateschitz, Hardwood, reportedly tried to recruit former Formula 1 driver and BMW Motorsport chief and fellow Austrian Gerhard Berger to help guide the team through its debut season. However, it was never realized. For 2005, the chassis was christened the RB1. Red Bull Racing used Cosworth engines in its maiden year due to the ease of continuing with the engine Jaguar Racing used. Former McLaren driver David Coulthard led the team. Coulthard was chosen for his experience, considered ideal to help lead the fledgling team. With the second car, Red Bull shared the drive between two of its young sponsored drivers. Christian Klein, who had driven for Jaguar in 2004 and 2004 F3000 champion Fiantiono Luigi. At first, it was announced that Klein and Luigi would swap driving duty every 4 races, but by the end of the season, Luigi had appeared only 4 times. Red Bull's first year in Formula 1 was a massive success compared to its predecessors, Jaguar Racing. They were 6th in Constructors' Championship for most of the season, only beaten by the fast improving BAR Hondas at the end of the season. In a single season, they amassed more points than Jaguar had in 2003 and 2004. Coulthard, after a poor 2003 and 2004 with McLaren, was a revelation for the team, while Klein showed that he had vastly improved from 2004. Overall, they scored 34 points. I had to think for a second. 24 for Coulthard, 9 for Klein, and 1 for Luigi. Luigi. Pronounced it wrong, I said Luigi. Red Bull was a consistent point and occasional podium challenger for most of their debut season. American driver Scott Speed, who rose through the ranks of the American equivalent of Red Bull Junior Team, Red Bull Driver Search, was Red Bull Racing's 3rd driver in 2005 for the Canadian and United States Grand Prix. Scott Speed was attractive to Red Bull because of his American nationality, which would rise the profile of both Red Bull and Formula 1 in America, a market where the sport had traditionally struggled to make impact. Ferrari engines, 2006, the 2006 season. On April 23rd, that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. On April 23rd, 2005, the team announced a deal to utilize customer Ferrari engines in 2006. This coincided with a rule change mandating the use of V8 engines, making it likely that both Red Bull Racing and Ferrari would use the same specification engine. Red Bull Racing continued to use Michelin tires, rather than the Bridgestones used by Ferrari. On November 8, 2005, Red Bull Racing hired Adrian Newey, the highly successful McLaren technical director. On December 15, 2005, the team's second car with the Red Bull RB2 hit the track for the first time. David Coulthard completed a handful of laps of the Silverstone circuit in England and declared the new car was a sexy looking thing. In early testing, Red Bull was plagued with cooling problems and overheating of car components. At the opening race of the 2006 season in Bahrain, Christian Klein qualified 8th, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, Renault and both the BMWs. Coulthard had problems when he flat-spotted a tyre while fighting with Nick Heidfeld and finished 10th. The cooling problems returned when his Ferrari engines expired on the slowing down lap, forcing a grid penalty for the following race. In Malaysia, Coulthard made up several places from the back of the grid, but was forced to retire with hydraulics problems. While Klein had an opening lap incident with Kimi Raikkonen, who we know he's still in Formula 1, Kimi Raikkonen then, but after pitting for repairs also retired with hydraulics failure. Coulthard got a point in Australia after Scott Speed was penalised for passing him under the yellow flags. Now you can't pass someone under yellow flags during a race or something. Also you can't pass someone during safety car unless that person has issues or has to box. Or when the stewards have said you can pass him because he passed you he passed you while safety car was out. That basically happened in 2020 opening race. Go and watch that. The following races were mad with retirements and lowly finishes. Coulthard finished 3rd at Monaco, the team's first podium finish. Team boss Christian Horner said before the race that if one of his cars were to finish on the podium, he would jump into a swimming pool at the track naked. He ended up jumping into the pool wearing only a red cape. Coincidentally, both Stewart Grand Prix and Jaguar Racing, the team's predecessors, also scored their maiden podiums at that race. How peculiar. Coulthard scored a point at Montreal, which is Canada, passing Jenson Button on the closing stages of the race, despite starting on the last place, due to an engine change that warranted a grid penalty. Klein also fared well, driving the second BR2 to a 11th position. At the United States Grand Prix, Klein retired along with 8 other cars, including Toro Rosso driver Scott Speed, on the first lap after a series of first corner incidents. Coulthard finished 7th. The team finished 7th in the FIA Constructors' Championship with 16 points, 5 points ahead of the struggling Williams team. Williams is still struggling, by the way, but they're getting better. There was once a time where both Williams cars were in Q2, and that was this year at Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. I was so surprised and I was super happy because I knew that Williams were back then. David Coulthard, 14 points, finished in 13th place of the drivers' standings. The departed Klein, 2 points, classified in 18th position. Klein's replacement, Robert Dornbos, failed to score any points. Robert Dornbos is is basically now one of the presenters at Sigo with Formula One, and he's also at the table at Formula One Cafe. So if you have Sigo, then go ahead and watch that and try and find out who Robert Dornbos is. And I will make a podcast about him because he used to be a racing driver. And even if they are retired, I will make a podcast about them. So yeah, let's carry on. Renault engines, 2007 to 2015. And we are now going to be talking about the 2007 season. 2007 saw the debut of Adrian Newey, designed RB3. After lengthy discussions over Red Bull Racing's obligations to continue to use Ferrari engines for 2007, the team announced on August 31st, 2006, they would use Renault engines for the 2007 season, the Ferrari contract being passed to Scuderia Toro Rosso. The team announced on the 7th of August 2006 that it had signed Mark Webber alongside David Coulthard for the 2007 season, replacing Christian Klein, who ended his association with the team. Klein was replaced by Robert Dornbos for the last 3 races in 2006. Dornbos became the team's non-racing third driver for 2007. That's really confusing. Despite qualifying in 7th place for his home race in Melbourne, Mark Webber finished down in 13th due to a persistent problem with a fuel flap that closed as the pit mechanics went to put the fuel in, and it remained open until the next pit stop, greatly increasing drag and decreasing airflow over the rear wing. That's really confusing. It was worse for David Coulthard, however, who crashed heavily with Williams' Alexander Wurz in the late stages of the race. Malaysia was even more of the same for Webber, while Coulthard retired with brake problems. However, in Bahrain, the team showed improving pace, and Coulthard and Webber were running in 7th, with Coulthard starting from the back, and 8th, respectively, before reliability problems put both out of the race in quick succession. However, the testing at Barcelona, Coulthard set the fastest lap in the new configuration of the circuit since superseded by Felipe Massa. Coulthard secured the team's first points by scoring a gritty 5th with a faulty gearbox on his closing laps in Spain, while Webber was dodged with hydraulics problems all weekend, eventually retiring from the race after failing to set a competitive lap in qualifying. The performance hike the team experienced at the Catalan track left both drivers and team optimistic about their future results, with reliability troubles being as much of a focus as the increase of their already competitive pace. Red Bull Racing further strengthened their technical department by hiring Geoff Willis as technical director on July 17th, 2007. After this, the drivers seemed to have a stroke of good luck during the unpredictable and exciting 2007 European Grand Prix, in which Webber finished 3rd, his 2nd career podium. Coulthard backed it up with a strong 5th, which was made all the more impressive by the fact he started on the 20th spot on the grid, after the team mistakenly kept him in the pits too long, resulting in him not being able to complete another qualifying lap. Red Bull had a strong end to the season. Webber came close to victory at the Japanese Grand Prix, but he was involved in a crash with Sebastian Vettel. During the same race, Coulthard again demonstrated his weather ability and finished 4th. At the Chinese Grand Prix, Red Bull had a competitive qualifying session, Coulthard achieving 5th on the grid along with Webber in 9th. And now we're going to go to the 2008 season. Red Bull continued with the same drivers in 2008 and had numbers 9 and 10 on their cars after finishing 5th in the 2007 Constructors' Championship. Red Bull presented the RB4 at the Jerez circuit on January the 16th and announced that Sebastian Buemi would be their test and reserve driver for 2008, combining it with his GP2 drive with the Arden International GP2 team. After Webber retired from the opening round, he went on to score 5 consecutive point finishes. David Coulthard had a tougher start to the 2008 campaign due to poor qualifying, but the 3rd place at Canada gave Red Bull their first podium since the 2007 European Grand Prix. At the halfway mark, the team had notched up 24 points, the same as their total from the 2007 season, and were locked in a fierce battle with Toyota and Red Bull for 4th in the Constructors' Championship. The team had also resolved the reliability problems that had dogged them the previous year. However, as the season progressed, Red Bull failed to keep up with their competitors. Red Bull scored just 5 points in their last 10 races, and Toro Rosso, the Red Bull B team, had overhauled their total by the season and won the rain-affected Italian Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel, I believe. Now that was 2009, I believe. It will come. This fact led many to claim that the Renault engine powering the Red Bull was lacking in horsepower compared to the Ferrari and Mercedes engines. For the 2009 season, Renault were allowed to equalize the difference in engine power compared to their competitors after the single-year freeze in engine development in 2007. Webber notched up his 50th top 10 grid position in 107 Grand Prix at the Spanish Grand Prix. Coulthard announced his retirement from Formula 1 at the British Grand Prix despite hopes for a strong final home race, was forced to retire on the first lap, which also occurred in his final race in Brazil when he retired at the second corner. And also then, Lewis Hamilton became world champion after Felipe Massa won the race, of course. For 2009, Red Bull Racing launched their new RB5 chassis virtually on February the 8th by means of a 3D computer-generated video narrated by Sebastian Vettel. The physical launch of the car was held the next day. The team secured their first pole position at the Chinese Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel, posting the fastest time with just a single qualifying lap in Q3. Webber qualified in 3rd on the grid. The next day, Vettel won, with Webber in 2nd. Vettel's victory in rain-soaked conditions marked Red Bull Racing's first ever win although the team predecessor Stewart GP had won the 1999 European Grand Prix, courtesy of Johnny Herbert. I will also make one of Johnny Herbert as well. At the next race at Bahrain, after qualifying third, Vettel finished second behind Jenson Button and collected another 8 World Championship points. At the Spanish Grand Prix, Webber and Vettel finished third and fourth respectively after having qualified fifth and second. In Turkey, Webber and Vettel finished second and third respectively. At the British Grand Prix, the car had new upgrades and Sebastian Vettel won after qualifying on pole position, ending championship leader Jenson Button's run of 4 straight wins. The team scored another 1-2 at the German Grand Prix with Mark Webber, who scored his first ever win despite being given a drive-through penalty early on, leading home Sebastian Vettel. Mark Webber also took his second Formula 1 victory at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Another 1-2 finish for the team was achieved at the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, this time with Vettel finishing ahead of Webber. Vettel finished second in the Drivers' Championship with 84 points, 11 behind Jenson Button. Mark Webber finished fourth with, I don't know how they've done that, with 69.5 points. Maybe I need to dive deeper into Formula 1 history why they've given half a point. The team also finished second in the Constructors' Championship with 153.5 points. 18.5 points behind Braun GP, who are having a strong start. But now we're going to go to the 2010 season. For the 2010 season, the team retained both Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel, with Renault remaining the engine supplier. At the opening round, the Bahrain Grand Prix, Vettel took pole position while Webber qualified 6th. Vettel led the race until he slowed due to his spark plug failure, while the two Ferraris and Lewis Hamilton overtook Vettel. Vettel finished 4th and Webber finished 8th. In Australia, Vettel again took pole with Webber in 2nd position. That's a front row lockout, as you call it. Vettel led the race and again looked set to take the race, but he reported a vibration of one of the front wheels on his car. A problem seemed to subside and the decision was made to keep him on the track rather than pit him. A few corners later, the problem struck again and Vettel ran off the track and subsequently retired due to a brake failure. Webber got wheel spin off the line and gave up one position on the run to the first right-handed corner. Subsequent errors led to him dropping a few more places. And at the end of the race he crashed with Hamilton, destroying his front wing. He pitted to get a new one and finished 9th, scoring 2 points. That is one heck of an achievement though. In Malaysia, Webber took pole with Vettel in 3rd position. Vettel managed to pass both Nico Rosberg and Webber on the first corner, leading to all bar 2 laps. And 2 laps en route to his and the team's first victory of the year. Webber led the other 2 laps and eventually finished 2nd, with the team moving up into 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. The team once again scored pole position in China when Vettel managed to set a faster time than Webber, who completed the front row. Another front row lookout. Webber overtook Vettel at the start, but both were overtaken by Fernando Alonso, who was later given a penalty for a false start, a jump start. The race was then hit by rain, and Jenson Button made the best strategy call and won the race. Vettel finished 6th, while Webber was 8th. This left Vettel and Webber 5th and 7th in the Drivers' Championship, respectively, and the team in 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. This is going to be a long one, I have to tell you. At the Spanish Grand Prix, the two drivers were the other way around. Webber on pole and Sebastian Vettel second on the grid. Webber won the race without too much trouble. Vettel, however, suffered brake problems and dropped to 4th. This became 3rd when Hamilton had a puncture and crashed from 2nd on the penultimate lap. If you've watched Formula 1 since then, yeah, you would know what happened. He was still at McLaren, I think, then. It was like, I don't know how long these tires are going to end up, and then he just shouted and hit the wall. Where was that? After the race, Webber was leading the championship after being in 7th after China, with Vettel in 2nd place. This was only by count back through because both drivers were on 78 points. The team was leading the Constructors' Championship. At the Turkish Grand Prix, Webber again took pole position, taking the team's run of pole position to 7 consecutive races, with Vettel 3rd on the grid. Following the pit stops, Vettel and Webber were running 1st and 2nd until lap 40, when Vettel attempted to overtake Webber, leading into a collision between the two. Webber finished 3rd while Vettel was forced to retire. Neither driver took 100% responsibility, while senior members of the team alluded to the thought that Webber had not provided enough room for Vettel. In Canada, Hamilton took pole position, the first non-Red Bull pole of the year. Webber and Vettel were 2nd and 3rd respectively in qualifying before the pair finished 4th and 5th in the race. The team admitted that it was a track that the car had struggled with. At the European Grand Prix in Valencia, Spain, it's not the Ricciardo Tormo, it is the Valencia Street Circuit, I have to point that out. Vettel won from pole position, leading every lap of the race. Webber collided with the Lotus of Heikki Kovalainen, flipping his Red Bull into a somersault before landing and crashing into a tyre barrier. At the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Vettel took pole position, but after a bad start he got a puncture and subsequently dropped to the back of the field, eventually finishing 7th. Webber, who started from 2nd, won after leading the entire race. Vettel qualified in pole position in front of the two Ferraris in Germany, but finished his home race behind the pair in 3rd place. Webber qualified in 4th, but finished in 6th behind both the McLaren cars. During the race, Felipe Massa controversially let Fernando Alonso pass into the lead to win the race, after a message from the team. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner said, "That was the most blatant team order ever." Now, if you've heard what it was, Fernando is faster than you. He also criticized Ferrari for not letting their drivers race each other. At the Hungarian Grand Prix in Budapest, Vettel again took pole position and was leading until the safety car came out. He was a 2nd behind Webber, who started 2nd, and was then given a driver penalty for exceeding the 10-car maximum distance between himself and the safety car. This cost him the 2nd place, and he finished 3rd. Webber won the race after using his super soft tyres for over half the race to build up a lead to keep him ahead after his stop. Webber won with Fernando Alonso 10 seconds behind in second place. At the Belgium Grand Prix saw Webber claim pole position despite McLaren and Ferrari having straight line speed advantage. At the start, the anti-stall device on Webber's car came on, dropping the Australian to 5th. Vettel, meanwhile in 3rd after starting 4th, was chasing Jenson Button for 2nd place when he collided with the Brit at the bus stop chicane. The bus stop chicane is basically the last set of corners before start finish. I know that. After sensing an inside pass opportunity, Vettel attempted to quick change direction while under braking, causing the car to spear into the side of Button's McLaren. Button retired from the race while Vettel was able to pit for repairs. He subsequently received a driver penalty for his action and suffered a rear tire puncture while attempting to overtake Liuji, finishing 15th. Webber was able to capitalize the DNF of Button and Alonso, as well as a mistake by Renault's Robert Kubica during his pit stop, and finished 2nd behind winner Hamilton. My throat is getting real dry and I'm pretty sure I'm not done with this. But let's now go, it's so far. But basically, in 2011 they won the championship. I think, well, let's read that then, shall we? Both Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber were retained by the team for the 2011 season, as was engine supplier Renault. Vettel defended his world title, becoming the 9th driver to do so after winning 11 of the season's races, and also achieved 15 pole positions during the season, breaking Nigel Mansell's record from the 1992 season. Webber finished the season in 3rd place in the championship, taking one victory in the final race of the season in Brazil. The team also defended their respective title as they finished the season with 650 points in the Constructors' Championship, 153 points ahead of the next closest team, McLaren. And yeah, so then they won again and again, and then Vettel stayed there in 2014, and then Daniel Ricciardo replaced Mark Webber. Yeah, that goes on and goes on and goes on. And in 2015, Vettel would leave Red Bull, and then Daniel Kvyat came back, who had spent a single season with the junior Toro Rosso team. But yeah, Daniel Kvyat and Max Verstappen traded places ahead of the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, with Verstappen promoted to Red Bull Racing and Kvyat returning to Scuderia Toro Rosso. Verstappen eventually won the Spanish Grand Prix, becoming the youngest ever Grand Prix winner. And then it goes on and on and on. And on and on and on. Yeah. Then 2008, we've seen that season all on Netflix. Well, basically, at Azerbaijan, they both drove into each other. And then, let's go to 2019. They, basically, Ricciardo left at that time. He signed with Renault. And then Pierre Gasly came in. But then Pierre Gasly got demoted again, or swapped with Alexander Albon, who you can see on the picture. And Alexander Albon did great, I must say, with course off a podium. But then, again, Hamilton ruined it. Well, I wouldn't say ruined it. He basically he basically spun Albon around and received a penalty. He did that again in 2020 at the opening race and received also a penalty. And in both cases, a McLaren got on the podium on 3rd place. So, yay. Yeah, in 2020 they retained Alexander Albon and Max Verstappen, and in 2021 Checo Perez came in. And now we're going to move on to the future. Oh my god, there's still a lot. I might have to do like a part 2 of this. So this is basically history. And then next time we're going to go to corporate information, Scuderia AlphaTauri, fictional racing car, and racing records. Not racing records, but basically corporate information, Scuderia AlphaTauri, and fictional racing car. We're going to do that next time. But now we're going to go into the future, so basically next year, 2022. Following Honda's withdrawal as a works entity after 2021, an engine development freeze lobbied by Red Bull allowed them to sign a deal with Honda to use the engines until the end of 2024. To maintain the engines, they formed a company named Red Bull Powertrains Limited and took over part of Honda's Milton Keynes facility. Despite their withdrawal, Honda will develop a power unit for the 2022 season, which will then be used up to the end of 2024, and offer assistance. And Red Bull Racing is basically the best crew you can have in Formula 1 because they're the fastest. We've seen it many times. We've seen it in 2020 at the Hungarian Grand Prix on the sighting lap, basically from the pits to the grid when they're getting ready to start a race. Verstappen locked up and crashed into a wall. Not hard. He damaged his front wing and part of his suspension, but he was able to get to the grid nonetheless, which was amazing. And his mechanics were able to fix the car before the start of the race. And he did magic. But they have pit stops records. At the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, the team set the world's record for the fastest pit stop with a time of 1 second 82. While servicing Max Verstappen. It is a record they still hold as of April 2021. So that's it for now. Next podcast, which is in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about corporate information. Going to talk about the sister team Scuderia AlphaTauri and the fictional racing car. I don't know what all of that is, but I'll read through it. And yeah, that's it for now. Not a 50-minute long podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then please leave a big fat thumbs up. And also consider subscribing if you want me to dye my hair. And if you want to see more of these things. And if you have any suggestions for future podcasts, leave them down in the comments below. What do you want to learn about? It can be absolutely everything. It doesn't have to be Formula 1. It can also be, for example, Dutch Shepherds or a movie which you love. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll dive in it, and if you've seen a heart next to your comment, or you have seen that I have left a heart at your comment, then you know that I'm going to be using it in the future. So keep an eye out for that. But that's it for now. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys!